In this lesson, we're going to be looking at how we convert to and from mixed numbers. Now we're going to need to remember what the fractions actually mean. So we've got two numbers. The top one's called the numerator, that's how many pieces we have, and the bottom one's called the denominator, that's how many pieces would make up a whole. So this fraction would look like this, where there are 4 pieces that make up a whole, but I've only got 3 pieces, so I've got less than a whole. We'll also need to be able to simplify fractions. So if I had 12 over 18, simplifying it means making the numbers smaller by dividing. So I'm going to look for the largest number that can be divided directly into 12 and 18 without remainder. And that number is 6. So if I divide them both by 6, I will end up with 2 over 3. Remember, 2 over 3 is worth exactly the same amount as 12 over 18. It's just that this one's numbers are smaller, which means it's simpler. Now, let's say I tried that and I didn't divide by 6. I thought that 3 was the highest number that goes into 12 and 18, and so I ended up with 4 over 6. That's not the end of the world. All we need to do is every time we get a final answer, before we go, yep, I'm done, just double check, is there anything else that goes into those two numbers? Hopefully, since they're smaller numbers, it's going to be a bit more obvious, and you go, oh, hang on, 2 goes into 4 and 6, so I can do it again. So I divide them both by 2, and notice I end up with the same answer as I did up here. So while it's better to divide by the highest number the first time, if you don't, then you're not necessarily going to get it wrong. You've just got to make that double check, and you get a second chance to get to the final answer, and you get a third chance and a fourth chance as well if you want. So always check your final answer before moving on. And just a quick reminder, a proper fraction has got a numerator that is smaller than the denominator. In other words, it's less than 1 whole. And an improper fraction has a numerator that is larger than the denominator. So in other words, it's more than 1 whole. Let's start by putting our 3/4 here and just quickly noting down the numerator and the denominator, which we already know there, what they mean. And so then I'll draw it. And so there's my 3/4, 4 sections, 3 of them shaded in. And now I want to draw on here another 2 wholes, because that's what that number off to the left means. That's how many wholes we have. So when I draw them, all I need to do is draw 2 fractions that have got 4 sections and all of them shaded. And so drawing wholes is easy because you're just shading every single section, and the number of sections is the same as the denominator. So all 3 of my shapes here have got 4 sections, because 4 is the denominator. It tells me how many sections I need to have. So that's my drawing of 2 3/4, and something I can do now is I can take 2 3/4 and I can make it into an improper fraction, because my denominator would be 4, because 4 pieces are making up a whole in each of them, and altogether there's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 shaded in pieces. So that means 2 3/4 is the same as the improper fraction 11 over 4. Now really what's happened there is I've said, well look, there's 2 lots of 4, isn't there? There's one lot of 4, there's another lot of 4, so I've really just multiplied them together. And then I've said, and there's another 3. So to work it out, I went 2 times 4 plus 3, that got me 11. Remember, I didn't need to work out the 4, it's exactly the same as over here. And so to make something improper from mixed, we multiply the denominator by the wholes. That tells us how many pieces together I've got all together in the whole numbers. And then I just add the numerator, because there's that many more pieces just sitting off to the side here. So that's how we change an improper into a mixed. And of course the denominator stays the same. Now we can also of course do the reverse. We start with our improper fraction. We already know it's equal to 2 3/4 because we just saw that a few moments ago. But how do we get to 2 3/4? What's the way? And it's easy enough. What you do is we've got 11 pieces all together, and 4 of them make up a whole. So to work out how many wholes we've got, we just divide 4 into 11. So how many times does 4 go into 11? And it's 2. That means there's going to be 2 wholes. And there's also going to be some pieces left over, which is these ones here. And that's the remainder. So if we just work out 11 divided by 4, then it's equal to 2. There's the 2 wholes. And we've got a remainder of 3. That's how many pieces are left over. That tells us what the fraction part's going to be there. And of course the denominator stays the same because the pieces are not changing size, still 4 that make up a whole. And so to change to mixed, just divide the numerator by the denominator. Let's take a look at some examples, and so we're going to convert 3 and 4/5 into an improper fraction. So let's start by writing down 3 and 4/5, and then to do it we're going to times this denominator by the wholes. That tells us how many pieces I've got all together in those 3 wholes, and I'm going to add the 4 pieces that are on top there. And so 3 times 5 plus 4 is 15 plus 4, which is 19. So altogether that's 19 over 5. It's fine just to go straight to the answer here. You don't need to write this green part down. We want to be able to do these quickly in our head because we're going to have to do this often enough during this topic and of course in later years. And the next one, we're going to convert 14 over 4 into a mixed number in simplest form. And so first of all, let's forget the simplest form stuff to start with. Just focus on converting it to a mixed number. And so 14 over 4. How many times does 4 go into 14? And that is 3 times. And there will be 2 left over. And so remember to do this, you just got to divide it in, find out how many times it goes in, find out how much remainder there are. And so there's the 3 times, so that makes 3 wholes, and the 2 that's left over just forms the fraction part there. And now it needs to go into simplest form. The whole number does not need to be altered at all, it's fine the way it is, just the fraction needs to be simplified. And so what's the highest number that goes into 2 and 4? It's 2, and then, so remember, just going downwards now, and so it's 3.5. We don't want to put another one next to it over here, so we just go downwards. So the final answer is 3.5. So let's have a go at some practice questions. Remember to pause the video. There's our solutions to those questions. Now in the first one here, I wrote down the question, 2 1/4, I had to change it to an improper fraction, so I multiplied 2 by 4, that gets me 8, and I added 1, there's where my 9 comes from, and the 4 is exactly the same as over there, the denominator does not change. And then when I'm converting 15 over 9 into a mixed number in simplest form, I started by writing it down, and then how many times does 9 go into 15? And that's only once, and so there's the once, and there was 6 remainder when I did that, so that forms the fraction part, and again the denominator does not change there. Now this is not in simplest form because 3 goes into 6 and it goes into 9. Remember, the whole number doesn't matter, it's going to be 1 down there, it doesn't get simplified. So 3 goes into 6 twice and into 9 3 times, so that's why that can become 2 over 3. And here's some more practice questions if you need to have another go. Remember to pause the video. And there's the solutions to those ones. And that brings us to the end of the lesson.